Here we are back together again, friends, for another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
Good morning. My name is Ashley. My family and I are from Melbourne, and our daughter was diagnosed in April of last year, very unexpectedly with no family history at all.
If this is your first time listening to the Juicebox Podcast and you'd like to hear more, download Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really any audio app at all. Look for the Juicebox Podcast and follow or subscribe. We put out new content every day that you'll enjoy. Want to learn more about your diabetes management? Go to juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu and look for Bold Beginnings, the Diabetes Pro Tip series, and much more. This podcast is full of collections and series of information that will help you to live better with insulin. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. The episode you're about to listen to was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. Go check them out right now on Facebook, Instagram, and of course at touchedbytype1.org. Check out that programs tab when you get to the website to see all the great things that they're doing for people living with type 1 diabetes. Touchedbytype1.org. I'm having an on-body vibe alert. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Eversense 365, the only one-year wear CGM. That's one insertion and one CGM a year. One CGM, 1 year. Not every 10 or 14 days. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Omnipod 5. And at my link, omnipod.com/juicebox, you can get yourself a free, a free Omnipod 5 starter kit. Free? Get out of here. Go click on that link, omnipod.com/juicebox. Check it out. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes, links at juiceboxpodcast.com.
Good morning. My name is Ashley. My family and I are from Melbourne, and our daughter was diagnosed in April of last year, very unexpectedly with no family history at all.
Melbourne, Australia?
Melbourne, Florida.
Florida. I was like, you don't sound Australian at all. But this time of the day for recording, this is when the Australians record usually.
I wish I was from Australia.
Do you?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Cool accent.
Yeah, to who though? Probably not to you. You wouldn't even know. Nobody even knows what they sound like. It doesn't even matter. Although, it's one of people's biggest concerns when they come on the podcast. I'm worried about how my voice will sound. And I don't want people to think that my voice sounds like X, Y, Z. They always have I don't want people to think my voice is too whiny or too nasally or something like that. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, no one listening knows what you sound like. Like you're just a voice when that happens. Like, don't worry. Nobody cares. So anyway. All right. So let's say you're from Australia. It's much more exciting. No. So you're from Florida. You have family. It sounds like how many kids?
2 kids, boy and a girl.
Yeah. How old?
11 and 7.
11 and 7. You're married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
Oh, gosh. 13 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Seems fair. You say this diagnosis came out of nowhere?
Yes. Frustrating intro to our diagnosis. We had recently moved here to Melbourne, so we had to find a pediatrician. We chose a fairly large pediatric group, started seeing this new pediatrician. It seemed fine at first because, what do you go to the pediatrician for? Like if you're sick and once a year. So Not a big deal. My daughter got the flu last year in January, and she stayed sick for weeks. It just would not go away. And I kept taking her back to this pediatrician. And I felt like he just was not listening to me. The cough wouldn't go away. I was using medication that, explicitly states on the box, don't use for more than 14 days. And we've been using it for like a month now.
Under the doctor's direction, you were using it for longer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Every time I went, I would say, we're still having to use this. We're still having to use, Mucinex for a cough. It won't go away. And he's like, okay, well, if it's working, just keep using it. But that's not really solving our problem.
How long are people supposed to have the flu for?
I mean, typically your symptoms should only last a few days, right? I mean, you may not feel great for a week or so, but it shouldn't hang around in your body for that long.
So at first, it's just, hey, she's been sick longer than I expected. I'll go back to the doctor. But then there's a third return to the doctor?
Oh, in total, from January until April 23rd, which was our diagnosis, there were 13 pediatrician visits.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the pediatrician.
It was actually unbelievable. So for background, I'm an ICU trauma nurse.
Okay.
So I have a little knowledge.
I mean, tiny bit, you'd think, right?
Yeah. And I know when to advocate for my patients. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of in my nursing career. But then add in that it's my child is a totally different aspect of advocating. So when I kept taking her the third or fourth visit, he was like, well, I don't really know what you want from me. Like, I want you to be a doctor. Yeah. I want you to do a chest x-ray. I want you to send us to a pulmonologist. I want you to do allergy testing. Like, why is she still sick? This doesn't make sense.
How old? I mean, I'm just going to go on a limb and say it was a guy, right?
It was a male. Yeah. He was probably late
60s?
50s. No, I'd say 50s. I'm going to be nice and not go too deep into that part of it.
Listen, you have a job where you're around doctors. Sometimes they age out of their knowledge base and they age out of their exuberance. That happens, right?
Yeah. I'm going to say I personally work with physicians who are in their late 60s, some 70s, and they're the most intelligent physicians I've ever met in my entire life.
Okay.
So do I think it's an age issue? No, not always, but I do hear what you're saying. I think it's more of just a respect and listening to your patient. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing that you have to do in medicine is listen to the patient because they're the only ones who know what's going on.
I'm making this up in my head, so you'll tell me if I'm way wrong. But I mean, I know other nurses, right? And they'll say sometimes that doctors don't want to be told what to do by a nurse.
Yes.
Do you think that could have transferred into your private life?
So I don't ever tell anyone that I'm a nurse.
Okay.
Ever. I don't think it's relevant for me coming in to see you for an appointment with my child.
Mm-hmm. I agree, by the way. I think you run the risk of having them just make assumptions instead of doing their job. Right. Yes.
And we know that as nurses, we know that. So I typically don't tell anyone what I do for a living. I have actually lied a couple of times and just say, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. So they don't have to,
because it's not relevant and it shouldn't matter that I have education in the medical field for you to do what's right for your patient. It shouldn't make a difference.
No. I was wondering if maybe if there was ego there, was like, I don't need this ICU nurse telling me how to take care of this kid's cough. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there was at the end for sure. That day that I told him, when he asked me what I wanted, he ordered everything that I said. So I took my daughter to a pulmonologist, chest x-ray, allergy testing, all of the things, and nobody could find anything wrong with her. So I went back again and I'm like, here we are. We're still having the same issues. She's very tired all the time. She still has this cough. She's not sleeping well. Oh, well, it'll go away eventually. Just again, brushing me off.
Really? That simple? Months into it?
Yep. Yeah. So this was
going to go away when she dies, Ashley.
Yeah. This was like into February, probably we're at now. She started peeing the bed. And so as a nurse, I'm like, well, this isn't great. Did diabetes ever pop into my head in the beginning? No, because we don't have any family history. We don't have anyone in our extended family. We don't have anybody with type 1 diabetes. So no, that wasn't something that I was like, oh, this is an issue. So then I thought maybe she has a UTI. So I took her back again. Hey, she's peed in the bed a couple nights this week. Can you please see if she has a UTI? So we pee in a cup. Nope, no UTI. Okay, so what's the deal? Why is this now the new symptom? He told me maybe she's stressed.
About being sick for 3 months?
I said, can you just tell me what a 6-year-old might be stressed about? Like, is it the flavor popsicle that they're going to eat after dinner? Or I'm not understanding what could possibly be stressing out a 6-year-old that they're peeing the bed in their sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no reason for that. So that day, him and I did not have nice words for each other. And I asked for a new physician. We switched. That was right at the beginning of March. Of course, had to come back another day to establish with this new doctor. Met her, kind of explained what was going on, my concerns, but I have 2 kids. So of course, there's not always just one thing going wrong in your life. There's multiple. So my son had stuff going on as well. And so my daughter took the back seat. She seemed okay. The symptoms kind of slowed down. We were dealing with other things. And then into March, she started with the peeing the bed again. And I went to pick her up from school one day and she had a different outfit on. And I said, Harper, why are you wearing a different outfit? And she said, because I had a potty accident at school today. And right then I knew something was terribly wrong.
Yeah.
She's almost 7. She doesn't pee her pants. This isn't right. So back we went to the doctor and we peed in a cup again and nobody could figure out what was wrong. Did they ever poke her finger? No.
Yeah.
Did they ever send us for lab work? No.
Any simple, basic lab work would have turned up a glucose, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My thing now looking back is why don't you just poke a kid's finger? It literally takes 3 seconds.
Yeah, but why they don't though, right? Because the first million aren't going to have diabetes. And then someone's going to say you're wasting money on this test.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I take your point. But I think it's crazier that somebody could be sick for that long and
no one noticed.
Well, just keep being told it's going to go away. Well, no, it's obviously not going away. It's
right.
Okay. You said she had the flu. Is this still the flu?
It was long and it was exhausting and frustrating. So I had a grandfather, my favorite person in the entire planet, get very sick. And my daughter and I flew up to visit him in April. He has since passed. And the weekend we spent with him, she peed the bed the whole entire weekend. We were there 4 nights and she peed the bed every single night we were there. And so I called my husband and I said, please make her an appointment for first thing, Tuesday morning. We land Monday evening. We're going to the doctor first thing in the morning. This is crazy. And that night I told my husband, I think she has diabetes. And he's like, no, there's no way it's that, whatever.
It's the flu.
So yeah, it's probably still the flu. So he made the appointment. We flew home. My daughter was so sick, Scott, on the plane.
I bet.
Looking back, I was so angry with myself. She ate gummies on the airplane. I don't let my kids have gummies. I'm a mean mom. So it was like a treat to have it on the airplane. And she drank apple juice. And I can't even imagine what her sugar must have been. And she was so sick when we landed. She wouldn't help do she wouldn't help carry her bag. She wouldn't walk through the airport. It was like, Harper, come on. We got to get moving. We have to get off the plane and, get to the car.
Yeah. She's like, Mom, I'm dying. I can't.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
So we made it into the car. She fell asleep on the way home. My husband's like, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if she's motion sick. I don't know what's happening. So maybe we just go to the hospital. And he's like, okay. So we came home. She had peed herself in the car, showered her off. She laid down. I went to go get a little bag pack to take her in and she fell asleep. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Maybe she was motion sick. Now she's sleeping. Do you pick her up and still take her? Do you let her sleep? Obviously, looking back, I didn't make the right decision. So we slept through the night. The next morning we woke up, took her to her appointment that was scheduled. I explained everything again that was happening and how frustrated I was. And they said, can she pee in a cup and can we poke her finger? And I said, she can pee anywhere you want. She's peeing everywhere.
Sure. Yeah, no kidding.
So
watch this.
Peed in a cup and it's crazy. They poked her finger. The doctor came back in the room and I knew immediately on her face, I will never forget it. And she said, I'm really sorry. Your daughter is diabetic and she is in DKA. Her ketones were 4+ and her sugar was 594. And we're going to call an ambulance. And I just lost it. I was devastated because I felt like I knew for a while, but I didn't know.
Well, that's the part I want to get back to because it feels like you talked yourself out of it twice.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Today's episode is brought to you by Omnipod. Did you know that the majority of Omnipod 5 users pay less than $30 per month at the pharmacy? That's less than $1 a day for tube-free automated insulin delivery. And a third of Omnipod 5 users pay $0 per month. You heard that right, 0. That's less than your daily coffee for all of the benefits of tubeless, waterproof, automated insulin delivery. My daughter has been wearing an Omnipod every day since she was 4 years old, and she's about to be 21. My family relies on Omnipod, and I think you'll love it. And you can try it for free right now by requesting your free starter kit today at my link, omnipod.com/juicebox. Omnipod has been an advertiser for a decade, but even if they weren't, I would tell you proudly, my daughter wears an Omnipod. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Why don't you get yourself that free starter kit? Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox. Today's episode is sponsored by a long-term CGM that's going to help you to stay on top of your glucose readings, the Eversense 365. I'm talking, of course, about the world's first and only CGM that lasts for 1 year. 1 year, one CGM. Are you tired of those other CGMs? The ones that give you all those problems that you didn't expect? Knocking them off, false alerts, not lasting as long as they're supposed to? If you're tired of those constant frustrations, use my link, eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more about the Eversense 365. Some of you may be able to experience the Eversense 365 for as low as $199 for a full year. At my link, you'll find those details and can learn about eligibility. eversensecgm.com/juicebox. Check it out.
Looking back, there were things that I should have been like, oh my God, Ashley, take her to the hospital or take her somewhere else. But when you don't think that it's that diagnosis, I don't know. I really don't.
Your brain keeps searching for other possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's your baby, I have 2 healthy kids. She's 6. Like, there's no way it's something that bad.
Yeah.
But it was.
No, I get your point. And have you had illness through your life, or your husband has, or no?
I mean, not anything crazy. Yes, we've both had COVID. We've had the flu. My son gets the flu almost every year.
But nobody's like chronically ill.
No.
Yeah, it's another thing that I think the people who aren't chronically ill, it doesn't pop into their head that there could be something, I don't know, wrong. You know what I mean? Not just like wrong for now, but wrong forever.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing that pops into people's minds usually.
No, and it's just so devastating. I mean, I've met so many wonderful people, including you, through this podcast and through, diabetes groups. We came home after the horrible time that we had figuring everything out and that ridiculous crash course they give you on, just keep her blood sugar around 180 and she'll be fine. And you come home and you're just lost.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, well, thank God you're a nurse. That literally means nothing, just so we're clear.
I haven't said this in a while. I think the last time I said it, I got some anger online, but I'll say it again. Some of the most lost mothers and fathers who have been on this podcast or spoken to me privately have been nurses or doctors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because people think that we should just know. And I don't think that anyone realizes nursing school is 2 years of hell. Let's just be for real. It's awful. And it's all bookwork. You don't truly learn how to care for a human being hands-on. It's all bookwork. And the endocrine system, when you study in nursing school, is maybe a couple weeks. And diabetes is oh, there's type 1 and type 2, next chapter.
Yeah. 20 minutes on Tuesday morning, right? Yeah.
People think you just know, every subject of every illness ever.
Right.
And we don't. We specialize.
And beyond that, and it took me a while to figure this out through conversations with healthcare people too, but beyond that, when you're in the hospital with type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, they're not there trying to fix your A1C and make it a 5.
Right.
You're there because you broke your foot. You're there because you had surgery on your gallbladder. You were there. They just don't want you to get low and pass out, and they don't want you to be too high for too long. They're not actually trying to manage your blood sugar that well. And
they know nothing.
Right. Oh, please. You only have to go to the hospital a couple of times before you realize that no one understands what's happening. even that, like, when you're, I mean, as an example, like when you're in there because you have, I don't know, cancer. And because I went through this with my mom, and who, was kind of borderline type 2. And an endocrinologist comes through and it's like, well, just, give her the diabetes menu. And which, by the way, shockingly has incredibly bad food for you on it.
It's terrible. You get like pancakes every day for breakfast.
Yeah. But you just can't have like the dessert or something. It's always hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And, and then they say, how's your blood sugar been? They don't mean, hey, has your blood sugar been 105 all week? They mean like you haven't like passed out, right? Because if you haven't passed out, then we're good.
Yeah.
And which is fascinating too, because healing is really impeded by high blood sugars.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yet in a hospital setting, what you're telling me and what most people have told me is there's not the expertise to put a person on another person and have them manage their blood sugar well.
No, absolutely not. And we don't manage type 1 and type 2s differently.
No,
and it's totally different. It's crazy.
I'll tell you, that'd be a great job for me.
You and me both, because the frustration that surrounds it when I'm at work.
Yeah, well, I bet you now it feels a lot different than it did before, huh?
It's horrible. It just frustrates me so badly.
Sure.
That these poor people don't get cared for correctly, and then I come home and I tell my poor husband, who's not medical at all, if something ever happens to me, if I'm ever not there and you have to do something with Harper, you have to know everything because no one knows.
Yeah.
Don't let them touch her pump. Don't let them do anything unless you know what's going on, because they have no idea what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I know you used the word advocating once already, but I've come to the conclusion that it's a bad word because it's not really what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm advocating for myself. What you're really doing is you're trying to force somebody to pay attention long enough and not do something wrong.
Yes. And that's what we do with patients.
Yeah. Right. So, when someone says you have to advocate for yourself, like, be really clear what that means. It doesn't just mean like, hey, pay attention. I'm over here. I want to be first. Like that's, I need my TV turned to another channel. Like, it's not squeaky wheel, because that's kind of how I, like you would think about it a little bit. Like, and oh, they're so busy, they don't have time for everybody. You have to advocate for yourself. Exactly what you told your husband. Like, you have to know what's supposed to happen.
Yes, you have to know everything to keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
It's sad.
That's not how people think of it.
No.
And that's why they end up sitting in the hospital, something going wrong, and they don't say anything about it. Nothing comes of it. My father went to the hospital he slipped and fell. He was in his 70s and he had, other issues, but he had a big cut on his leg and he had type 2 diabetes, which, and eventually like his blood sugars were 400 the whole time. He never got out of the hospital. He died there. And a week before that, I said to him, like, Dad, you're never going to heal with your blood sugar this high. Like, we have to talk to them about getting your blood sugar down.
Right. Because in the hospital, what we do for diabetics, doesn't matter what type, we poke your finger and we cover you with sliding scale.
Yeah.
But we don't care what you eat and we don't cover your food.
Right.
Which makes absolutely no sense. You're literally putting them in a failed system and expecting them to do well. Like, working in it is more frustrating. I think that's the hardest part, is when people say, oh, well, she's so lucky you're a nurse. It's almost harder because I'm a nurse, because I know how failed and flawed the system is. Yeah.
Yeah. Until you realize that, like, what's that? There's that stat that one of those advocates for medical reform runs around saying that, I don't know, like some large percentage of what's taught in medical school isn't even worth teaching anybody anymore. And, that it should be revamped, but it doesn't get touched that way. And just look at yourself with diabetes, right? Like, you and trying to help your daughter. It's overwhelming for you trying to help her. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to put it on a 25-year-old who just got out of nursing school. Like, she's got to understand it too. He's got to understand it too. Like, nobody, that's not how it works. Like, this is all like your hair's on fire trying not to burn the house down. That's how medicine seems to me. Hey, you didn't die. Big success. You're out of here. Now, the other nuts and bolts stuff, it's funny, is almost different. Like, I don't know, setting a broken leg, getting a surgery to have your appendix removed. Like, this stuff is very like A to B. And we know how to do some things a lot better than we know how to do other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but everything just feels like healthcare to you when you're sick and you're running into a hospital.
Yeah.
Did you think that about healthcare before your daughter had diabetes, or was it not a way you thought about it?
No, I know that our systems are flawed, and I know that we could do better. It wasn't diabetes, of course, at the forefront of my frustrations. Now it is, not just for her, but for all of them, just everyone that we've met through this process. They're all experiencing these struggles and these unnecessary facts that they're told, and like where your kids A1C should be, and oh, they'll be fine. No, they won't be fine with an A1C of 7 for 15 years.
Yeah.
No, it's not right. And I don't know why we're taught that it's okay if children run higher, or it's okay if children's A1C is higher. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Like, I just want her to live a normal life with normal numbers like we do.
Mm-hmm. When Arden was really young, that was one of the ridiculous things that was said to me that like pushed me into the direction I'm in now.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if her blood sugar's high all the time because she's young.
Yeah, she's a kid. It's fine.
I said, I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Yeah, I can't tell you what I've learned from you.
Then there's no follow-up answer. They say, oh, no, that doesn't make sense. Contextualize that for me. Why is it okay that she's young? And then they go, right. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's just a thing you say,
Yeah. Like, why is it okay if they're young and their A1C is high and they won't end up with kidney failure on dialysis? But when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's not okay.
Last Friday, I interviewed a guy who's actually been on, this was the second time. He was on the first time to talk about how he's in the How We Eat series. And now he's back 41 years old to talk about his quadruple bypass.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because he, got diabetes back in the day, probably was, regular in MPH and then back there for a little bit, and talked about how like his A1Cs were like, in the 8s for, probably 10 or 15 years. And now fast forward to like, he figured some stuff out, he's taking really great care of himself. And how does he explain it to me? He says he's a runner. He's a guy who finds himself to be very healthy, He's a runner, and he said he started getting hiccups while he was running, or belching while he was running. And he somehow luckily figured out that it was when his heart rate rose that he started belching, which led him to a doctor to look at his heart. And, after that surgery, the doctor told him it was like your arteries were like cottage cheese when I was trying to sew them.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Right? Yeah. And so we know that's what can happen.
Right.
Why would you tell somebody, hey, it's cool if your A1C is 7 or 8, like, or, your 180 is fine, like that stuff. Like, and the answer really simply is that there are more moving parts than we have people who understand what those parts are doing while they're moving and where they're going to end up while they're moving. And now you're expecting that person to understand this whole process in their mind from today, you and your 6-year-old daughter, to 40 years from now, how to direct you. They don't know how to direct you. They don't know how to even philosophize about what might happen one day and how to talk about it without scaring the hell out of you. And like, so it all just turns into like, it'll be okay. Like, awesome. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that bridge is going to have cottage cheese on the ground that I'm going to fall through. So thanks a lot. Great. Anyway, a cottage cheese bridge. That's how I'm going to think of it from now on.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so how long ago was this, Ashley? I'm sorry.
So my daughter was diagnosed April 23rd of 2024.
Oh, wow.
So we're a little over a year in. Most of what I know, and don't get me wrong, our endocrinologist is incredible. I adore him. He is not type 1. So to me, that means something. And everything else I learned from you and your podcast. I have done experiments. You did an episode about a guy who wanted to eat M&Ms and it kept spiking him. And so he tried every day with different amounts of insulin with the same amount of M&Ms.
Yeah.
My daughter wants to eat cereal for breakfast. She's a kid. And I forgot to tell you, she was diagnosed with celiac 3 weeks after her type 1 diagnosis. So
awesome. Yeah.
That was super fun. So we had to change our whole diet, But anyways, she wants to eat cereal, and cereal's awful and spikes you, to 300 every time you eat it. So I said, well, if they can do it with M&Ms, then I can do it with cereal. So I got out a measuring cup and I measured her Cheerios every day and the milk every day. And I played with the insulin until I figured out how she could eat a bowl of cereal and stay under 150 and go to school and be fine.
Wow, good for you.
And I tell everyone to join the podcast because those are the kinds of things that like you're not taught, you know?
Nobody's going to say that to you. They're going to say things like cereal makes your blood sugar high, huh?
Yeah, don't eat cereal.
Yeah.
That's what they tell you.
Either don't eat cereal or your blood sugar is going to be high, but it's okay. She's 6.
It's fine. So let me tell you the other super fun and frustrating challenge that we dealt with after this diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Sending your child back to school. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My kids go to public school. I obviously knew nothing about type 1 diabetes management in public schools. So we come home, I kept my daughter home for a little over a week, probably. And I'm calling and I'm trying to get meetings set up with the principal and the counselor and the school nurse and all these people. Okay. So here in our county, our school nurses are employed through the public health department. They're not employees of the school.
Okay.
So basically you have to work with both. You have to work with the school and you have to work with the health department. Okay, fine. So we go to our first meeting. I had bought a sugar pixel for the clinic. I had let Harper go back to school. We put the sugar pixel in the clinic. The school nurse thought that was like the coolest thing she'd ever seen in her whole life. Had it on her desk. She was doing an amazing job keeping an eye on the numbers. And when she started dropping, she would, intervene. It was wonderful. It was working beautifully. So we go to this first meeting and it seemed like it was going well until I mentioned the sugar pixel. And one of the nurses turned and said to me, "Oh no, we can't see her blood sugar levels. We can't watch them. We're not allowed." And I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, we've already been to court over this and we're not allowed to follow her blood glucose levels." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, do you have those court documents that you can provide me?" "Well, no." "Well, do you have the type 1 diabetes management policy that you can provide me that states that you're not allowed to do that?" "Well, no." I said, "Then the device is staying in the clinic until you provide me with documentation that says otherwise."
Mm-hmm.
"No, we can't do that." I said, "You're going to do it until we are provided documentation." So she went into the clinic and threatened the school nurse's license if she continued to monitor my daughter's numbers.
Who did?
We'll call her the boss.
Okay.
The public health department nurse boss told the school nurse if she continued to watch my daughter's numbers, she could lose her nursing license. So of course, as a nurse, she's terrified, So she unplugged the sugar pixel, wrapped up the cord and handed it back to me. And I think I was almost just as devastated in that moment as I was in the moment that the physician said to me, "Your daughter has diabetes." I don't think I've ever been so disappointed and so frustrated in the system as I was in that moment. We already had her watching the numbers. There was nothing wrong. It wasn't affecting anyone else. What is the issue? So this turned into a year-long battle. And I had to go to the public school board meetings that they do at the town hall monthly. Mm-hmm. And sign up for a 3-minute appointment to speak in front of the entire school board. And I did it. And I pulled documents from every school county that follows a child's blood sugar in other states, here locally. I called Tallahassee. I hired an attorney. I started working with a type 1 diabetes group that helped me and sent resources over. And we fought until it's finally approved. And it took a year.
What was the reasoning that they wouldn't do it?
They're not allowed. That's all they kept saying.
Yeah,
it's a liability. It's a liability if we're watching her number and something happens, then it's our fault. I said, but it's a liability if my daughter is here in the building with you and something happens because you don't know what her number is.
Yeah.
I'm helping you.
I feel like this is the kind of answer that you get when stupidity is involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the meetings were endless. My husband couldn't sit through them anymore. He got really frustrated and walked out after a couple. They kept telling me that I was trying to reinvent the wheel. That was their favorite saying at every meeting. We just don't understand why you're trying to reinvent the wheel.
You know what they told me one time, Ashley? They said, "We have a lot of kids in this school with diabetes. They're all alive."
That's what they told me. we've never let anyone die. I said, is that supposed to make me feel better?
I said, I know one of those kids. She's wandering through this school with a 200 blood sugar the entire day. I'm not okay with that. I said, you're telling me that you're okay with that? And she's okay. And I'm like, she's not okay. You just can't see that she's not okay. Like you don't know what you're talking about. I think that was one of my argument points that got it moving. You can't just pretend it's okay. You can't just tell me it's okay when it's not.
But to them, it's okay because they don't know, you know?
Yeah, what I told them is that their actions will lead to my daughter having significant health concerns 20 years from now.
So I think the bigger issue is that kind of what we touched on earlier with age, and I don't want to blame it on age, but the older population is used to managing type 1 with injections and not knowing what your sugar is. You know, we poke it in the morning and we'll poke it before lunch and then that's it.
Yep.
And they kept saying, you know, well, no one's ever died and we've taken care of diabetics for 40 years. And, you know, I think one of the ladies who we had to meet with, her son was a type 1, but it was 30 years ago when you were taking care of him as a child that was a type 1.
Interesting is now you're stuck in that situation where you're not just saying, I would like you to do this for my kid. You're telling that lady you didn't do a good job for your son.
Yes.
Yeah. So now it's all very personal.
Up coming out as that.
I bet you it did.
I tried to be respectful. And again, I didn't ever say I was a nurse until one of them told me that the school nurse couldn't sit and stare at my daughter's sugar pixel all day. And I said, I'm not asking her to stare at it. You can tape a piece of paper over it. It's going to alarm when she hits the numbers that I want it to alarm at.
Yeah. I'm not asking her to stare at it.
You don't have to look at it. She said, well, you don't know what it's like to stare at monitors all day when you have all these people to take care of. I said, actually, that's literally what I do for a living.
I know all
watch
about
monitors and keep people alive. But if I can't stare at a monitor because I'm taking care of one patient and another monitor goes off, that's what tells us something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. It's the same point I make about people's CGMs all the time. Like, oh, I just stare at it. I said, I'm like, don't look at it till it beeps.
Right.
Yeah, just set it in a place where you can react in time, and then that's it. You don't need to stare at it. I'm not trying to make anybody out to, you know, in any certain way, but there's a person I know that's in the diabetes space, right? Whose kid is older. You know, this person's older now. Their kid was, you know, had diabetes a long time ago. Kid's probably in their 30s now or something like that. CGMs came out, and this person banged on a lot of pots telling people these CGMs are not necessary. I didn't know what my kid's blood sugar was when they were on a sleepover. You don't need to know either. You know, you're going to make yourselves crazy. Like, they were on a crusade to tell people that they were doing this wrong. And you're paying attention to stuff you don't need to be paying attention to, and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, they really went on and on and on. And all I could think while they were doing it was, this person is so afraid to find out that there might be a better way to do this, that they did something with their kid, even though wouldn't have been their fault. The technology didn't exist.
Right.
They're so afraid to find out that there's a better health outcome for their child that they didn't get, that they don't want the rest of you to have it, just so they don't have to feel the pain of learning that.
And isn't that awful?
By the way, I don't think it's conscious. I think it's kind of how people's minds work sometimes. And they went on for a while like that, telling anybody that would listen. And by the way, they had a bit of a platform at the time. You don't need that thing. I raised the kid fine without a CGM. Blah, 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 blah. Now, by the way, the kid gets a CGM eventually. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Can't wait to tell everybody how great it is. Just pivoted on a dime. Just went the other way. I watched that from afar and I was like, you're a piece of shit. How crazy is this?
And I felt like that was the people that I was sat in front of and supposed to talk to. It was these people that were like, well, we did it this way and my kid's fine. Are they though?
Yeah, you don't know
and
that.
I remember telling them at one of the meetings, like, you guys are afraid because you don't understand what I'm talking about with her CGM and with her insulin pump. And I had one of the ladies tell the entire room full of people while she was doing type 1 diabetes training at my daughter's school that if my daughter's blood sugar was ever low, just rip her pump off of her. And I stood up and I said, if you ever touch my child's insulin pump, we are going to have a very serious problem.
Great. I don't know how you didn't just stand up and go, I give up. I'm going to leave. We're going to go.
Can't give up.
We're going to go. No, I would move to an island and just live there. Like, I'd be like, it's okay.
I can't give up because of her. And she saw me fighting.
Yeah.
And
No.
friends of ours saw us. And, now here we are a little over a year in, and we have met multiple diabetics here locally, and new ones are diagnosed every day, which is another topic that I find crazy. And every time we find out there's a new one, we make a care package of nice. Things that we wish we would have known about. And we go visit them. And I make sure to tell them what the school has to do for them, because they have to do it now.
There's a few hundred kids in New Jersey using Arden's 504 plan. And trust me, the school was pissed about it for a while.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
But they were pissed because they had to do something. And by the way, they didn't really do much. They just had to all of a sudden they were responsible. Like all of this, like my takeaway from my 504 experience was that school was doing everything they could do not to be liable in case something happened to Arden. And if she were to have a health concern down the road, that wasn't on them. They didn't give a shit. That's right. What I got out of it. Because, we've been helping kids with type 1 diabetes. All you had to say was, why don't we go find them all right now and see how they're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what we're going to do is we're going to find a certain amount of them who thought, hey, 200's fine while I'm at school. And then they got out and they were like, well, 200's fine. 220's probably fine. It was okay when I was in high school. It's probably okay now. They're going to live with an 8.5 A1C their whole life. And then they're going to have an actual problem with something they can't come back from. And right. You know what? And then if we trace that all backwards, we can trace it back to a meeting just like the one we're in now, where you decided that it was okay for my kid not to be healthy for the rest of their life. Because why? You didn't want the sugar pixel to be in the room?
Right.
Because you don't know what you're talking about. Just say you don't know what you're talking about. And we could re-educate and start over right now, and everybody, everything would be fantastic. You wouldn't just be helping my kid. You'd be helping every other kid here and every other kid who's on their way.
The first time they told me that I was successful, one of the lady that I referred to as the boss, she actually called me personally and thanked me. She said, I wish there were more mothers like you that advocated and fought for what's right. And she said, because you won. And now within our county, if a parent requests that we follow their glucose, then we have to. And I said, well, that's good. And she said, well, you don't sound that excited. I said, because I wasn't pushing for just this county. I'm pushing for the whole state. I called Tallahassee. I'm not settling for just this county.
Yeah, well, that's good on you, actually. But what's the other side of it? Did she not even agree with the thing she was fighting for because she was just doing her job? Or did you change her mind and show her a different side of this? Which do you think happened?
I changed her mind. And I only know that in the end because of the phone call later. We provided documentation. The ADA has released documentation on school guidelines. They're federal. They're... Mm-hmm. You have to follow their glucose values if the parent or guardian requests it. It's in writing.
Yeah.
So the schools technically can't fight it, but they were trying. The school board ended up backing me. Thank God. They were like, yeah, we agree. What's the issue? Well, then the issue was the health department wasn't agreeing with me, and it's their nurses. And they didn't want to take on the liability of having their nurses monitor the sugar values. But you're responsible anyway.
Actually, ignorance, stupidity, laziness. What's the biggest problem?
Ignorance, probably.
They just don't know.
And I don't necessarily think that it's bad that people don't know.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You don't know. Yeah. But you have to be open-minded and willing to learn. And it's not just these frustrating events with schools or medical professionals. It's our friends. It's my family. It's, if you're not going to take the time to just sit and try to understand what she's going through and how different her life is now, we don't need you around. I mean, it's just really that simple.
Sounds like you're going to have a hearing with your aunt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is just, I'm just going to say it's very human, right? You get into a rhythm with something, you don't want to learn anything new. And when you hear something different, it sounds wrong because you feel like you already know the answer. I don't even think it's that they don't care to know. I think it's that they believe you're wrong, probably. They probably think you misunderstand it.
Maybe.
And that's the weird part. Like, why would you not instead of making the leap like, oh, Ashley doesn't know what she's talking about because I already have an opinion about this. Why would you not say, hey, you know what? Our kid just got diabetes. She might have a little more understanding of this, like close up understanding of this than I do. But everybody just thinks they're right. I'm telling you that this is what keeps people alive and what stops people from learning at the same time. Like if you walked around constantly all day believing that you were wrong, it would probably turn into a mental illness. You have to believe in yourself. But then you get into one of these situations and you don't have the ability to turn that off for a second and go, well, let me reevaluate what's happening here.
Right.
Instead, you just go, no, I'm right. I have a thought. It's worked for me before. This is right. That makes you wrong. I'm on team right. You're on team wrong. Now we can fight to the death. Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? And by the way, what you went through in that hearing is no different than talking to somebody online or watching your favorite political dissertation happen in front of you. It's all the same thing. Like we all get stuck in what we think.
Right.
We're married to our thoughts. We really believe that they're infallible. So I know you did a great job.
Bad for the kids.
Yeah. I tell you what, you probably had an easier time with the school than you're going to have with your family.
Yeah.
Because at least the school was like bound by some rules and laws. Your family just probably is like, she's always been a pain in the ass. And that's going to be the end of it.
Yep. And I'm okay with that as long as I'm doing what Harper needs. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, good for you.
Because it's not easy. This definitely isn't what I ever envisioned, obviously, for my life or my child's life. I think we're doing pretty well. Her last A1C was 6.0. So we got a little room still to make adjustments.
Well, it sounds like you're doing great.
But it's hard, and this just isn't what you picture. And I don't know. The celiac, that's fun. That's a whole nother.
Tell me a bit about that. Like the celiac comes pretty soon afterwards. I ask people this all the time, but if you could get rid of one, type 1 or celiac, which one would you get rid of?
So, we ask Harper that all the time. We play the what would you do game, and we give choices. And we've asked, what would you get rid of, diabetes or celiac? And without fail, every time she says diabetes.
Okay.
And it honestly shocks me because to me, celiac is harder for a kid. She's left out at school. She's left out at church. She's left out at birthday parties. We can't go to many restaurants because of all the stupid gluten-free menus that people are eating for a health fad. Yeah, sure, you have a gluten-free menu, but are you preparing it celiac safe, in a kitchen that's not cross-contaminated? And nobody's doing that.
Probably not, yeah. Do you ever ask her why she answers that way? Try to dig in a little more?
She doesn't like the shots. I don't like the shots, Mom.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So you as an outsider see the celiac as more trouble, but she sees the diabetes as more trouble.
Yeah, she says that, but I feel like if she could have a day without each, I don't know that she would still pick diabetes because of always being left out. The amount of time she comes home from school in tears because a kid had a birthday party and the parent brought in cupcakes and she couldn't have one, and those poor teachers that have no notice that cupcakes are coming into the classroom. So we get no notice to have time to take her something that's safe. I don't know. I just feel like she would change her mind if she had a day to realize oh, maybe this would be easier because diabetes doesn't stop you from eating a cupcake.
Yeah.
Celiac does.
I see your point. It really upsets her that much to be in that situation, the cupcake situation, for example.
Yes. Yeah. It breaks her heart because she's little, when she's older, I don't think it's going to matter.
Right.
And she's eating healthier than, any of us did. That's for sure, because she can't have all the crap.
Yeah. No. I mean, in the end, like you said, paying attention to your health, having some of these issues sometimes does lead to people being, you don't want these issues, but it does force you into taking, better care of yourself a lot of the times.
Yes. Yeah. And the celiac was just as shocking as the diabetes. No symptoms, nothing. Our endo just ran the full autoimmune panel and her IgA came back, I don't know, over 500 and it's supposed to be less than 15. Mm-hmm. And we were oh.
Have you looked through extended family for other autoimmune stuff and found anything?
Yes. So after everything, of course, then people are oh, yeah, well, my brother's mom's cousin had, So yes, we've heard that there is some on my husband's side of the family, more thyroid, like Hashimoto's.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's on that side. And of course, we didn't know anything about it until now. But I don't know what it would have done differently either. You know what I mean? I still don't know if knowing that someone on your side of the family has Hashimoto's would have triggered my brain to be like, oh, I should get my kids checked for autoimmune diseases because maybe they're diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would have made it different.
Right. And if somebody came up to you and said, hey, that boy you like who you're thinking of marrying, he's got autoimmune on his side of the family, you'd be like, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah. No, right. It's just nice to know now that, so you can, look out for other things or, I used to think like, or help other family members with their trouble, but nobody listens. So that doesn't matter, to go to like an aunt or a sister-in-law or something and be like, hey, I mean, not for nothing, but I can see you have this problem. Like that's not what it is. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, I hear you. Yeah. I'm like, that's fine. Yeah. I stay out of that stuff now. Cause if they come to me, I'll answer, but like, I don't try to help people anymore because like not in my personal life, like, cause nobody will listen.
Right.
I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I didn't go to medical school. I mean, I've told you guys before, like I barely got out of high school. I do know a lot about this stuff and,
right.
Like they don't see you that way. It's the same thing as like your kids, like, Arden, I brought this up recently. Arden was having trouble with something. And I said, I was like, hey, this, whatever the answer was. And she goes, I don't think you know this. And I was like, all right, you're probably like only one of 4 people who thinks that, but that's fine. And it's just because I'm her dad, not because.
Right, of course.
Yeah, it's just what it is. I'm going to just tell you that I am really old. Harper Valley PTA comes from a 1968 country song. So I guess a song that I probably heard from my parents listening to music. It was later turned into a movie and a short-lived TV series. But listen to this. The song tells the tale of a widowed mother who gets a judgmental letter from her daughter's school parent-teacher association criticizing her for being too unconventional and inappropriate in how she dresses and lives her life. In response, she goes to the PTA meeting and publicly calls out the hypocrisy of its members, pointing out their own scandals and flaws. And your daughter's name is Harper, and this is my best podcast title ever.
I like it.
Thank you. I'm really proud of myself, by the way.
I like it. And I'm sure the school board and who knows who else has some lovely choice words about me. So.
Oh, yeah, though. They probably, I'd love to be totally in a room where they're probably like, this lady is a fucking bitch.
Yep. Yeah. And I can be, but like if you would just do what's right for these poor kids, it wouldn't be an issue. You know?
But if you would have just put your head down and capitulated, they would have just never thought of you again. And that would have been the end of it.
We're actually moving out of Florida, and I've had a few people reach out to me and like, we just want to thank you for everything that you did for the schools, because now our child is safe. Like now every day we know that someone's watching her values at school or his values. And that means the most to me. Right. Like I know that my daughter would have been okay because her nurse is wonderful, but like for all the others, that's what I wanted.
I hope it lives on in a legacy, because I do wonder now that Arden's been gone out of school for a while, if it, it doesn't get forgotten, one or two school nurse changes or, the person in charge of, that kind of stuff changes hands once or twice and you're right back where you started again. So,
yeah, it would be terrible and not surprise me in the least.
No, of course not. What are you going to write it down?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about, I saw this all coming. And so I'm sure I was a huge pain in the ass to people too, but like same thing. Like if you don't try to kill my daughter, I won't be a pain in the ass. Like I'm not looking for a problem. They did let me set up a little system, but it wasn't easy. I went to the school 6 months at least before Arden was going to start kindergarten. And I was like, look, hey, I like getting ahead of this stuff. That way we don't have to like rush, like on day one or whatever. Like, let's get this in place. And they literally laughed. I can still feel standing in the office being laughed at by a group of people who were like, he's here for next year. He's so nervous. Ha, ha, ha. We know what we're doing. There's other kids in this school that have diabetes. And I'm like, okay. And I did. I put my head down and I took it. And we come back for school. And then it hits you. It hits you right away. Day one, They don't have a plan yet. She's still going to be there.
Of course.
A problem couldn't happen on day one, right? So like now you just close your eyes and hope, put a cell phone on the kid. Like, my 5-year-old's walking around with an iPhone. That's not what I wanted, They send her home with her 504 plan. That's literally a piece of paper with 4 bullet points on it that wouldn't, I was like fascinated. I went back, took a meeting, got in the room with the guy, and he goes, "What's the problem?" I said, "I defy you not to kill her with this 504 plan." I was like, "There's no way you're going to keep her alive with this." I was like, "She's 5, man. She's wearing an insulin pump. She doesn't know how to take care of herself. No one here understands it. Your one missed bolus or one lunch is 20 minutes late away from her having a seizure. Do you know what to do if she has a seizure? Do you want her to have a seizure?" I put together a 504 plan and brought it back to them. They're like, we can't do this. And I was like, "Sure you can." And then, we got involved in the horse trading and back and forth, and we got something set up in place, and it was not good still, but I at least got them to test her blood sugar, call me, and let me make the decision about the insulin. So I took them out of the loop on the insulin.
Yeah.
And that worked really well until the one day they didn't call me.
Oh my gosh.
That was it. Like, she was on her way out she was supposed to go there before recess, get her blood sugar checked before she went out on recess. And then she would come back in after recess and they'd check her blood sugar again. And it's a long time ago. She's 21 now. The meat of the story is that there was a little kid who had a heart issue in the school, and he had some sort of a problem. He had to go to a machine they had to put him on, for, I don't know exactly what, to help him. And so this all happens just a couple of minutes before they're supposed to call Art and have her come down and test her blood sugar before she goes out on recess.
So they forgot about her.
They forgot about her. And I had timers on my phone. So my timer goes off because my timer was set for after the phone call, so that if the phone call doesn't happen a couple minutes later, I'm reminded of it, because I was, for my mental health, trying to teach myself not to stare at a clock too. Right.
Right.
So timer goes off. Okay. And then you sit there for a second. My first thought was well, be human. Maybe there's a bunch of kids in there that just haven't got, what am I going to call, bug them, And I waited a couple minutes and I was like, all right, I'm calling. I called. I get put through to the nurse's office. The nurse picks up the phone. She says, "Hi, it's the nurse's office." I said, "Hey, it's Scott. I'm calling about," and she goes, "Arden," and hangs up the phone. And I was like, okay. So now I'm just sitting there in silence. And a few minutes go by and I get a phone call and she's like, "Hi." And she explains all to me what happened to the other kid. And we missed Arden out on the recess. I got her. She was up on the monkey bars. I got her down. I'm going to test her blood sugar right now. She tests her blood sugar. Blood sugar was 50. So my 5-year-old was on the top of the monkey bars with a 50 blood sugar. And I made sure she was okay, got dressed, drove to the main building where the superintendent worked out of, and stood outside of his office till he saw me. And I recanted all that to him. And then at the end, I said, "Listen, I just want you to understand that if you kill my daughter, I will spend the rest of my natural life making everyone here miserable." I said, "I'm not a litigious person. I'll sue you all. I'll put my name on the front of this building. I'll make sure every one of you gets fired. And I'll have nothing else to do but to focus on this because of the horrible, horrible, disastrous sadness I'll be living in for the rest of my life because you killed my daughter because you couldn't just follow these couple of rules that we wrote down."
Right.
And he goes, "What do you need me to do?" And I said, "There should be somebody, just somebody, an aide whose job it is to remember that it's 10:15 because the nurses can't. They just prove that to you. And they shouldn't have to, by the way. Right." And he's like, "I can't afford an aide." I said, "You got to ask yourself, how much does the aide cost versus how much is it going to cost for you to defend yourself against my lifetime of lawsuits? When you kill my daughter and she's dead." And then he hired an aide.
Oh my gosh.
That man was later tragically killed in a car accident. And I feel terrible all the time that he and I we always had a contentious relationship because of that.
You threatened him so many times.
Just that one time, but he didn't let go of it. He hated me from there on out. And sometimes stuff would come up. And then they'd want to dig their heels in on something, but they'd look up and I was standing there and they'd be like, "Well, okay, we can't dig our heels in here because this guy's going to make a problem." To your point, it's a long way of saying, to your point, in a room somewhere with the door closed, I'm just a fucking asshole to them. But I don't care.
Right.
The tiniest little bit what they think of me. What I care about is Arden never had a problem like that at school ever again. 12 years. She was fine.
Well, and we don't want to come in like that.
No.
You know what I mean?
No,
we
I
would
didn't
prefer
want to
to
do
just
that.
come in and like, let's get this stuff in order and take care of my kid and call it a day. But that's
Actually, I was the bright, shiny, smiling guy coming in 6 months early. Like, hey, listen, I don't even want to pressure you guys. Like, let's get this done now so that we don't have to rush around and do it later. Like, this will give us plenty of time to go back and forth. We won't have to be contentious. No, they didn't want that. What they wanted to ignore it. I couldn't let them do that. And so, but that doesn't make me an asshole. Other things make me an asshole, Ashley, not that.
Oh, yeah. I have a list of things, that make me,
No. Trust me, you got plenty of room to stand on if you want to make a point here and there, but like not on this thing. And I was very kind and it wasn't until that happened. And by the way, even in that moment, let me be honest now, all these years later, I wasn't that upset. But what I saw was, this is my one chance. My one chance to prove my point, scare them straight, get this going in the right direction. So I walked in there and I was a little extra dramatic and I was a little extra boisterous. And, when they said, you'll have to make an appointment, I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not leaving here. Was it performative? A little bit.
But it worked.
Yeah, but it worked. And in the end, she was 50 on the top of a monkey bar. She could have fallen right off there and just, what would they have said? Oh, sorry. Then
we were taking care of the other kid.
Yeah. I'll put my 5-year-old in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And I'm sure your sorry is really going to fix it all up. This whole thing is hard enough without people setting up roadblocks all over the place. That's all.
Can I tell you the call I got yesterday, Saturday?
What about?
I don't know what day. So my son is 11. He's my older, no chronic health issues yet, I guess I should say. I get a call from his best friend's mom. And I'm at work and she's like, hey, do you have a minute? I'm like, sure. She just starts sobbing. And I'm like, okay, like what have the boys done? They've gone onto a bad website or something,
Oh, is that where your mind went? I went right to cheating husband, but go ahead.
No. Her son, our little buddy that's here with my son all the time, is over in the hospital diagnosed with type 1.
Oh my God. Your kid's patient zero. She's giving it out to other kids.
I know. I'm like, it's contagious.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible.
He got it here at our house.
How old?
He's 11.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. And the education they were providing, of course, we drove over, and spent the day with them yesterday and took a little care package. And I sat and listened to them give her the spiel. And I just shook my head and we left. And Harper said, Mommy, that was not right.
Now we have a 6-year-old who knows more than the diabetes educator at the hospital.
Yep. So they're covering him with sliding scale, but no food coverage.
Is it like a Lotta situation, or is there like a strong honeymoon going on?
I don't understand why or the reasoning behind any of it. And of course, the poor parents are like so overwhelmed that you're trying to explain like, hey, they should be covering for not only his finger poke, but like the food that he's about to consume, and they're like, what are you talking about? Because it's all new to them.
Yeah. I went through this last year with a person I know privately whose son was diagnosed. And every time I said something, I thought, oh, she's not going to believe that. And then it took months. And then one day she was like, I think I get that you really know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, cool. Because like you said, like at the hospital, they said this. So yeah. Oh my gosh. If they're asking for help, you're going to be like a support system for them in the beginning here.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Anything that she needs. I've already told her, I don't want to overstep and I don't want to like knowledge overload you because there's a lot. And I'm here if you need me. And I gave her our local endo phone number, which is who she's going to go see tomorrow, because I'm a little nervous with the people in Orlando that she's seeing. And I'm not sure what they're teaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're here for anyone who needs support.
That's very nice of you. That's awesome. And she'll be she doesn't know yet, but she'll be lucky that you're on her side. That's for sure. And her son too. The idea about like not wanting to overload people too, that's more than valid. It's really important. Like you have to be able to give them like real baseline stuff at first, because all the emotions and the lack of sleep and the guilt and everything else that's like swirling around is it makes it hard to. Yeah, that's why the way the hospital does it is so hilarious to begin with, where they're just like they just blurt everything out at you, and then you walk out and you don't remember a damn thing.
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour class they made her sit through.
Yeah.
I'm like, she doesn't know what you said in the first sentence.
Yeah, she has no idea. Like I've been very open and told people before that while the nurse was in Arden's room, maybe the day after she got, I don't know, I forget, like they got her out of DKA, and then like she was sitting there and she comes in to explain like, this is Arden's insulin to carb ratio and this has 30 carbs in it. So then you take this number and do this with that. And that's how you, and I was like, I just started crying, like literally, like not like a little bit, like I just like started to cry.
Popping.
Yeah. Because not that I couldn't figure out the math, but in the moment I couldn't.
No, you can't.
I started like, oh, it's like, oh my God, like I'm a stay-at-home dad. Like I'm looking around the room, like this is me, right? My wife's going to go back to work and I'm going to kill her. That's how it felt. And, you know, I'm going to give her too much of this or too little of this or blah, blah, blah. And I just like, my wife was like, she stepped up and she's like, hey, he's going to need a minute. And, you know, like kind of sent the nurse out of the room. My wife's like, listen, it's very simple math. You know how to do this. Like, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, I know, I just can't think. Like I couldn't,
it's just too much to
I couldn't
process.
put it all together. Yeah.
And somehow here we are and they're alive.
Yeah,
and
it all works out pretty much for the most part. If you get good information, it's not going to work out. You know, if you don't get good information, you get cottage cheese arteries.
We don't want any of those.
No, that's not what you want. Especially when it's not necessary and all the technology exists and all the know-how exists. But still, when you talk, I interviewed an endo the other day, like last week. His episode will be up in a while. He's pretty good. You know, you ask him like, well, how does all this happen? Nobody wants to say, like, it's just like, man, this is it, man. It's the fragility of life, the limitations of humans. This is as good as it's going to get. You think if everybody just tried harder, this would get better, but that's not what this is about. Like it's just too complicated for the person that you intersect is not going to have all the information either. Not going to know how to dole it out to you. Like, I mean, look, you just said like, don't overload them. Like there's a thing they don't know. Like instead they think like, oh, we said it. They know. Like what? Is that how learning works? That's how you recall learning working? I mean, honestly, it'd be like if I put you in your car and like you had you drive into a wall, then you jumped out and you're like, you weren't dead. You're like, oh, dazed. You just been through an accident. And I start yelling like, you know, equations at you. Like, hey, what's the answer to this one? You're like, I what? You know, I can't focus right now. I don't think there's a great answer.
I can tell you one thing we need to do is stop handing out those damn black and white papers that say hyper and hypoglycemic signs and symptoms, and they're literally all the exact same. They're the same symptoms on both papers. And they're like, here you go, take these home, and this is how you'll know if something's wrong with your kid.
That's so funny you said that.
And you're like, that's it?
I did this thing when Arden was really young and I was out of my mind. Like, you know, there's no CGM. So I was trying to figure out, like, is there another way I can like be sure that she's okay? And I got it into my head one day, like maybe I can see it on her face. And so I would like, you know, digital cameras were a thing then. So every time I tested her blood sugar, I took a picture of her. And then I matched it with the blood sugars. And then I went back and took away the blood sugars and tried to figure out like by the picture. And it didn't matter. Like, because at one point they were like, you know, dark circles under her eyes, but that could be high or low. That's the next thing I thought. I was like, everything I'm looking for is there in both scenarios.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what they're teaching at the schools. They're like, here, we're going to do diabetes education and teach all these, you know, teachers that have no medical background what to look for in your kid. So if they're sweaty or shaky or irritable or are you serious right now?
Just call. If you think something's wrong, call the nurse because
please.
Yeah.
Please
you don't know.
Just send her to the nurse or call me. For the love of God, just call me.
And then the nurse will show up and tell you about all the rules that she has to follow and why she can't help.
Let me go look at the black and white paper and see if any of these match.
It is frustrating that so many of the things on the one list are on the other list too.
Yes, it makes no sense to people who don't know what they're looking at.
Well, you know what it gets you ready for? It gets you ready for a life of living with autoimmune issues because they all pretty much bring up the same problems. So,
oh my God.
yeah. So,
I don't want any more,
yeah,
Scott.
I'm tired all the time. Well, it could be this or this or this or this or this. Like, oh, awesome.
But like, can we be capped out at 2? Is diabetes and celiac?
I got to tell you something. It seems like that would be fair, but it doesn't work that way for everybody. So I hope so for you. Yeah, I hope so for Harper. Ashley, you were awesome. This was terrific. Did I not ask you anything I should have?
It was a pleasure.
Cool. I thought so too. This is a good bitch session. I enjoyed this. This is good once in a while to do this. I have it on my list of things to do on the podcast in the future one day. I'm just going to let people come on and in short bursts complain for like 10 minutes and then just make it a little episode of them just complaining. I think maybe that'll help other people get out their frustrations.
That wasn't my intent to complain, but they are very pressing issues.
Yeah, they're important, and it's a new diagnosis, and it's fresh in your head, and listen, I mean, from the doctor to the school, that's more than somebody should have to deal with. I mean, your doctor not being able to figure out your kid's problem for 3 months is insane. And now she could have died during that.
Yes.
Yeah. She could have got DK and like a lot, like could have come on her a lot faster, and you might not have noticed it. And, somebody was just on here the other day that somebody told them, like, just wait till tomorrow. And they didn't wait. And it turns out that not waiting probably saved the kid's life. But, the person on the phone was like, it's okay. You can come in tomorrow. So that crap happens all the time. Anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. Hold on 1 second for me. Okay.
Okay.
This episode was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. I want you to go find them on Facebook, Instagram, and give them a follow, and then head to touchedbytype1.org, where you're going to learn all about their programs and resources for people with type 1 diabetes. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Omnipod 5, and at my link, omnipod.com/juicebox, you can get yourself a free Omnipod 5 starter kit. Free? Get out of here. Go click on that link, omnipod.com/juicebox. Check it out. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes. Links at juiceboxpodcast.com. Are you tired of getting a rash from your CGM adhesive? Give the Eversense 365 a try. Eversense CGM.com/juicebox. Beautiful silicone that they use. It changes every day. It keeps it fresh. Not only that, you only have to change the sensor once a year. So, I mean, that's better. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? If you're living with type 1 diabetes, the After Dark collection from the Juicebox Podcast is the only place to hear the stories that no one else talks about. From drugs to depression, self-harm, trauma, addiction, and so much more. Go to juiceboxpodcast.com, up in the menu, and click on After Dark. There you'll see a full list of all of the After Dark episodes. If you're looking for community around type 1 diabetes, check out the Juicebox Podcast private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. But everybody is welcome. Type 1, Type 2, gestational, loved ones, it doesn't matter to me. If you're impacted by diabetes and you're looking for support, comfort, or community, check out Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.